Hammer time! Who wants to be a space ninja? Each signature is a top-down action game, except with a focus on stealth. Plus it's a roguelike, sort of. Please join as I discuss the many scenarios in which this game can make you feel really cool, the ways in which its unique approach pays off, but also how its progression system leaves a lot to be desired in this Cheapness Affordable Gaming review of Heat Signature. First up, one of those ways you can feel really cool. You take your mission, break into a ship, engage in some space-age espionage, complete your objective, and simply break the window and get sucked out into the vacuum of space to be rescued by a remote control spaceship. Sure, a cool mechanic and all, but what would a spaceship be doing with such a flimsy window? I mean, seriously, if this can break it, surely some tiny rock hurtling through a frictionless environment at bullet-like speed would take it out no problem. You play as a bunch of different, randomly generated, freelance covert agents. Ernest Cassiopeia, now that's a name. Taking over this patch of star, sector by sector, from the 4 different factions that have set up shop. It's kind of hard to believe that this area would inspire such a fight. I mean, the ships don't really have much cargo, as you can see from the lack of boxes, usually just a couple of items, and a slew of cabling in the case of the glitcher ships, if you want to sell that chopper. I mean, they're fighting over a collection of asteroids that were converted into space stations. People live in these. And get this area's value is in the fact that it makes the best battery acid. Well, specialization is important. The people fighting over this place are made up of the Foundry, who are the builders, the glitchers, who are the techie builders, Off-World Security, who's sort of police, and lastly Sovereign, the intergalactic company motivated by profit, who, judging by their name and their intimidating color scheme and ships, they have a terrible marketing department. Sovereign, we're totally not evil. Speaking of, I also have a terrible marketing department. Me! So please consider helping me out by liking and subscribing. Maybe comment what your asteroid conquering faction would be called. But no pressure, I'm grateful you've even watched. And it's up to you to liberate these rocks until they're not controlled by an organized entity. Your tactics are guerrilla too. A bunch of missions are offered to you rather haphazardly. If there's an opportunity to do something, go do it. And once the people have been inspired enough through mission completions, one of the space stations can be taken over, and you may unlock a piece of equipment to be permanently available, depending on what faction it belongs to. They use different gear, but if you liberate enough of them, about 3 or so, with the same character, people become bored with you, and you make much less liberation progress through missions, signaling a good time to retire the character. Athlete rules. Bow out while you're on top. My guess is this is the developer's way of preventing an armed-to-the-teeth legend from single-handedly completing the game. That's the less than ideal progression system I mentioned. It's a unique take on roguelike elements, but it wasn't explained well, and it caused me some anger, because the missions have different difficulties. Easy to glory. Plus every character has a personal mission, which I assumed was their main goal. But all the personal quests do differently, really is give you the highest amount of liberation progress possible, and give you the opportunity to choose a piece of gear to be inherited by a future character. Except now it has a title and no improved stats, and characters with the air trait are rare, or at least they aren't in every batch of recruits, so not the most reliable roguelike upgrade. Begging the question, what's the point? Sure, it might sometimes make it easier for your character to have a high-end piece of gear, but you can just as easily pick an easier mission that requires fewer items to complete, slowly accruing items and money to get back to a relatively good place. Sure, it takes longer, but the result's the same, as if you just bought that piece of gear after saving up a bit. Maybe the point is these 6 unique items they talk about, and if you let them be inherited, they can keep being in circulation so you don't have to find them again or something. I think I only found one of them across my entire playthrough, and from its description, it seems pretty chaotic to use. Thanks for watching so far. Please stick tight for the next 20 seconds or so. It's intro time. And sure, through the liberations you unlock more items you can buy, but that has a problem too. Firstly, you can actually find the items on ships of that faction without needing to unlock it first. This just makes it available in the store, and you can unlock stronger variants of gear, but usually the way in which they're stronger is they add an attribute like armor piercing, or more charges, so that you can use them more before they run out. Or maybe they get the prefix rechargeable, meaning they recharge between missions. So yes, the gear becomes stronger, but the order in which you unlock them is also procedurally generated with the galaxy, so you may get something quite powerful early on. For instance, you can unlock the prefix high capacity first, meaning low capacity and medium capacity. You just don't need them anymore. But there those systems are, still needing to be taken over. The suffixes become almost like those in Lutifon RPG. Behold my silenced, non-lethal yet somehow armor-piercing shotgun. which honestly sounds like a non-lethal weapon manufacturer's fever dream. And sometimes you unlock the ability to buy something you've already found a couple of times, and already used in pulling off an incredibly difficult caper. And at that point, you may start to ask yourself, why am I still playing? Sure, there may be one or two pieces of gear you haven't tried out yet, but you've toughed it out. We're a legend, retired, why do this from scratch again? And there isn't that much to discover. Plus, it has very little story and world building to distract you. Honestly, maybe 1 to 2 pages of text altogether. Some amusing stuff, but not much. You don't even see that much of what you're liberating. They don't even show you the explosion during a liberation mission when you hijack the ship and let it autopilot into the station. Don't worry, they fix it up though. So as you can see, not the best progression. Maybe even gets a touch boring pretty soon. Most of the draw will come purely from the gameplay, because while it's fresh, it is brilliant. Real time, but you can pause and time slows down when enemies spot you, giving you plenty of time to think about your next move and do some super spy stuff. Cut and butt them. Oh, that reminds me, another cool thing you can do. Sometimes you need to bring in someone alive, and they can get sucked out the window too. Then you need to go save them before they suffocate. Action movie on steroids made semi-common mechanic. Strangely though, even though their welfare is important it seems, the way you store them seems questionable. And when you're tooled up, you can do some really cool things to mess with the enemy. For instance, you can use a subverter to make the equipment work in the opposite way as intended. You can use it on their shields so that when they shoot, it ricochets inside the bubble and kills them. Or do something a bit more mundane, like turn their turrets against them. Or maybe simply turn them off. Or rip off some armor with traps. Maybe redirect someone's teleporter so that they get teleported into the vacuum of space. Or use a teleporter yourself to avoid the predictable guard patrols. Because they have a lot of tools at their disposal too, like jammers that tie your space jacking hands. So if you have the tools, you can be targeted and surgical, sometimes only doing what the job calls for. For instance, assassinating one person, then escaping, sometimes by getting shot. For some reason, they toss you out the airlock when that happens, to let you die from asphyxiation instead of just, braining you or something, with a decrease in your breathing capacity being the only penalty. Unless, of course, that ship has alarm, or the ability to call reinforcements. Maybe your target will run, but that may present an opportunity. Goodbye. If you're well equipped enough, this is possible. Maybe even encourages some improvisation, like finding a way to prevent the pilot from flying back to the station once alerted. But if you're not prepared enough, you need to aim lower, and pick one of the lower difficulty missions, and kill the entire crew, because in that setting they don't have armor or shields. And adding to that feeling of why am I still playing this, you can unlock different employers that add certain modifiers to the mission, such as keeping the difficulty intact, but ensuring that none of the grunts have armor or shields, the thing that really made it so difficult. So first the game frustrates me with difficulty, makes me wonder if it's worth playing still. Then they give me this easy out so that I don't have to put up with one of the obstacles. As I said, weird approach to progression. And another thing that's kind of stifling is that generally the objective will be located as far away from the airlock as possible, meaning that's another thing made worse by not having the right gear. Without it, you can't do the fancy fun maneuvers, and essentially have to work front to back, decreasing opportunities for creativity and different approaches. So yes, this game can make you feel incredibly cool, but first you need to work for it. Visually, the game does look good though. Sure, zoomed out, some of the elements can look a bit ugly, and most of the ships are kind of sparse, except the glitchers, they're all over the place and colorful. Why do you have holes in your ship? But I think it looks nice enough, if fairly quickly repetitive. I'm guessing the ships are made using toolsets, and the procedural generation is all that really mixes things up. And some nice stardust and nebula too. I love the character models, the humans look actually quite cute. With their outlines, they kind of remind me of Templar Battle Force. I also reviewed that a while back if you're interested. And the music's pretty good. Not amazing, but you can get on board with it. Absolute punishment. Sci-fi electro, sometimes clubby stuff. Sometimes with some eerie noises of the void, segments to comply with space. Sometimes helps build attention, even though you can pause any time you need to. Sometimes you just make stupid mistakes that ruin the mission after a great deal of effort and hard work. That's deflating, and thus can be a bit stressful now and then. I played for about 16 hours, and I liberated about 2/3 of the galaxy, would you say? Technically the war would have ended if I just took over the remaining 2 strongholds, but really I was not in the mood. I completed some of the hardest missions that available. I didn't really need to see more of the game, but if you want more content, there's even defector missions. Missions I believe believe, that aren't procedurally generated, that give you a specific objective, kill someone with this or that. Although please be aware, I did restart and generate a new galaxy at some point, like halfway through, so maybe if you focus and keep it in one galaxy, you can achieve that end before getting too bored. And the game is cheap on Steam, 159 Rand full price, 31 Rand 80 cents on sale. That's 1 Rand 99 cents per hour of gameplay, which is quite good. And it has a small download size, as it only takes up 190.22 megabytes on the hard drive. But unfortunately, it does not work on the Warhorse. It honestly seemed like something that would, but something about these system requirements resulted in it playing like this. On the Warhorse, you're gonna need something more powerful to play it at all. And stereotypically, I'd say it's kid-friendly. Not that violent when you cut someone with a katana. The game has good visuals, colorful space dust and nebula, the space, the humans. Even the ships can look good, even though they can be sparsely decorated. The Glitcher's ships have the exact opposite problem. Overstimulated and look a bit odd. And ultimately, you don't see that much of the game world, and some elements are a bit grating when you zoom out, and the levels are similarly generated. You probably will see the extent of the game fairly early, but I maintain it looks good on the whole. And it is decent, maybe even fairly good, sci-fi electro music with the standard awe of space, weird noises, nothing to write home about really, but good, can add to the tension of your heartbeat, and the gameplay is very good. You can feel like a super agent when you have all the necessary gear. On the maybe side, it doesn't really have a story. It's very scant. And on the con side, while the gameplay is very good, it's surprisingly linear. Even though it's procedurally generated, you handle similarly generated levels. Enemies have predictable patrols. Equipment variables aren't that varied. I mean, one of the best ones you can find is rechargeable. You probably will see the extent of the game fairly early. And this game's approach to roguelike progression in general, it's not explained that well, and it just feels frustrating. Probably will make you ask, why am I still playing? Come on, play it and see how advanced spaceships aren't. They don't seem to be able to detect collisions. People inside can't hear them. Yet both ships are strong enough to not be damaged from this process. Come on, Red Needle. They didn't even detect that I parked at their airlock. This game's called Heat Signature. They can't even detect there's an extra warm body in here.